The night was pitch black as the private train car pulled out of the station quietly. 7 men sat in the velvet seats, attempting to hide their identities from the public eye. They used only first names to ensure the servants on board would not recognize their voices. These men represented a quarter of the total wealth of the entire world at that time. They were rivals in the daylight, but conspirators in the shadows of this dark winter night. Their destination was Jekyll Island, a secluded club where the ultra-rich could plot in peace. The official story given to the press was that they were simply going on a hunting trip. But the only thing they were hunting was the financial sovereignty of the American people forever. For 9 days, they debated and drafted the legislation that would become the Federal Reserve Act. They knew that if the public found out about this meeting, the plan would be destroyed. The goal was to create a central bank that looked like a government agency, but was private. They wanted a monopoly on the creation of money without any oversight from the voters or Congress. This was not a conspiracy theory, but a conspiracy fact admitted by them years later in memoirs. They engineered a system where money is debt, and debt is the only way to create money. By the time the train returned to New Jersey, the trap had been set for us all. 3 years later, on nearly Christmas Eve, the legislation was passed while most of Congress was away. The Federal Reserve Act was signed into law, and the coup d'etat was finally, totally complete. The power to print money was taken from the people and given to a private banking cartel. They called it the Federal Reserve to trick you into thinking it was federal and had reserves. But it is neither federal, nor does it have any reserves of gold to back the currency. From that moment, every dollar in your pocket represented a debt that could never be fully repaid. They introduced the income tax the very same year to ensure you paid interest on their money. Before 1913, there was no permanent income tax, and the country built vast industrial empires easily. But the bankers needed collateral from the citizens to back the new currency they were printing freely. Your labor became the collateral for the debt that the government borrowed from these private central bankers. This system creates a hidden tax called inflation, which slowly steals the value of your hard work. A dollar saved in 1913 is worth less than 3 cents in the economy of today. They steal your wealth, not by taking it directly, but by printing more money and diluting yours. It is a mathematical trick designed to transfer wealth from the working class to the financial elite. The meeting on Jekyll Island was the birth of the invisible chains that bind you right now. This terrifying pattern is not unique to America. As history shows us, it happens over and over. The Roman Empire collapsed when they diluted the silver content of their coins to fund endless wars. France destroyed its economy with paper money experiments that led to hyperinflation and eventually the guillotine. Every fiat currency in the history of mankind has eventually returned to its intrinsic value of 0. The bankers know this cycle exists because they are the ones who profit from every single stage. Stage 1 is always sound money, where the currency is backed by gold and trust is high. Stage 2 brings government expansion and the promise of free programs paid for by printing new paper. Stage 3 is the explosion of prosperity that is actually just a bubble fueled by cheap debt. We are currently living through the final stages, where the currency loses all meaning and value rapidly. The bankers use this printed money to fund wars that generate massive profits for the industrial complex. Without a central bank, governments would have to tax citizens directly to pay for their violent conflicts. The citizens would revolt against direct taxes, so the elites print the money to hide the cost. War is the most profitable enterprise for a central bank because it creates the biggest possible loans. Millions die on the battlefield to protect a currency system that treats them as disposable human assets. The Jekyll Island attendees understood that war and debt are the two pillars of their absolute power. Fast forward to the modern era, and you can see the cracks forming in the dam everywhere. In 2008, the system nearly died, but they printed trillions to keep it alive. They told you it was a rescue package, but it was a robbery of the middle class. The banks that gambled with your money and lost were bailed out while you lost your home. Then, in 2020, the printers went into overdrive, creating more money than ever before in history. 40% of all US dollars in existence were printed in a single 12-month period alone. This massive injection of liquidity caused the price of housing and food to skyrocket beyond all reason. The rich got richer because they own assets that inflate, while the poor got crushed by prices. This is the Cantillon effect, where those closest to the money printer benefit at your expense. The stock market hit all-time highs, while the real economy on Main Street lay in ruins. They are gaslighting you by saying inflation is temporary, while your grocery bill doubles in 3 years. The system requires exponential growth of debt just to keep from collapsing under its own heavy weight. We have reached the point where the interest on the national debt is more than defense spending. The mathematical limit has been reached, and the only option left for them is a total reset. They will crash the system on purpose to usher in a new digital currency they control completely. The next phase of their plan is the implementation of a central bank digital currency for everyone. This is not money. It is a surveillance tool that tracks every single transaction you ever make. They will have the power to turn off your ability to buy food if you disobey them. This is the ultimate realization of the dream they had on Jekyll Island over a century ago. They want total control over every aspect of human interaction through the mechanism of financial fear. But you still have a chance to break free if you understand the game they are playing. Real assets like gold and silver and land are the only shield against their dying paper currency. You must become your own central bank and stop relying on the system that hates you. Education is your weapon, and independence is your shield in the coming economic storm we face now. The empire of debt is crumbling, and the noise you hear is the sound of their panic. They need you to stay asleep, but you are waking up to the dark reality of their lies. The meeting in 1910 was the beginning, but your awareness today can mark the very end. Do not let them herd you into the next pen like cattle waiting for the slaughterhouse. The time to prepare is not tomorrow or next week, but right now, before the gates close. History creates the pattern, but it is up to us to break the cycle once and for all.